How's it, guys? This is Davey, FPL, and welcome back to the first live stream of the 2022/2023 FPL season. First of all, just let me know if the video and the audio are all Gucci, if they sound good, it looks good. That's all I want to know first of all. Then we'll head on to the roasting. Just joking, we're just going to be reviewing your guys' drafts. As I've said, if you guys watch this channel, your drafts are probably going to be pretty good. But nevertheless, we're going to be going through some different alternatives. As I've mentioned in the chat and in the comments or description down below, you guys can join my Discord channel and then go to the text channels on the left-hand side. And the last channel's called Thoughts, and you guys can attach your file there. I know there were some problems with attaching images. Don't worry, I've sorted that out now. You guys should be able to send any drafts that you want to. So let me know, and we'll be going through the draft review. This current draft that I have on screen right now is from the fantasy website. This is my current team. If you guys watched my official first draft video, it's the exact same team. I'll be doing a draft update probably on Friday if any changes do come about. But other than that, hopefully you guys are doing well. It's good to be back. FPL is back and in full swing. I know the first drafts won't be your necessary kind of your last draft, but as I always say, your first draft is usually the best one, and at least for me, it's the draft that I put the most thought in. So it's gonna be a lot of fun to go through your guys' drafts. This is a Sunday evening stream, very chilled stream. So we're gonna be going through kind of drafts that might be a bit different, but also some template drafts, so just be a bit patient. I also do apologize if we don't go through every single draft in the Discord channel. There might be too many to go over, but hopefully the talking points relating to one can also relate to yours at the end of the day. So let's just get everything kind of sorted out here. I am kind of a little bit rusty on the streaming front, so please forgive me if there's anything that does happen that doesn't go to plan. All good for now. Okay, audio and video is looking fine. How do I submit my draft? So you guys can join the Discord channel in the description below. Completely free app, don't worry guys. It's kind of, I don't know if you guys ever use Skype or something like that, but it's more of like kind of a chat room system. But I have a community server called Davey FPL, and I'm going to be using it a lot for kind of team reveals for members and that sort of thing. In the chat, you guys have some public channels. You also have some voice channels. I might do some Q&As throughout the season, maybe some one question go, that sort of thing. And other than that, we will be having some more kind of just general chats. So if you guys do join the channel, on the left-hand side, there should be a whole bunch of different pages almost. And then scroll down to text channels, and the last one is called Thoughts. And you guys can post your images in there. Just let me know if you guys are having any problems. I'm pretty sure some people in the chat will also help you out. But other than that, it should be looking fine. We have a first draft here from Lord Grimm. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of drag your guys' drafts across. Just give me a second here because I'm just going to have to adjust the kind of resolutions. I know some of them might be a little bit not up to kind of the resolution that looks good on stream. So I'm going to be kind of just going through them and we'll get it. But it won't be the prettiest kind of stream, but we will still be getting some good content. So that's all that I can kind of say. So going over the first draft here, it's a little bit interesting. I'm going to assume that you are a Newcastle fan because you have Gucci St. Maximum, you have a Trippier, and then you also have Jacob Murphy. Jacob Murphy probably going to be on your bench most games, but I like the kind of look of it. The big exclusion you could probably say is going to be no Salah here. You've got De Bruyne, you have Luis Diaz, and you have Robertson. A little bit interesting that you haven't also gone for Trent, but I assume that you might be going for some variation in terms of your team play. You've got Harry Kane, which I like. I think Harry Kane, Haaland, I don't think you can go wrong with either of them. You then have also fitted in Gabriel Jesus, haven't gone for Saka. Overall, the draft is fine. I just think that you have to be super brave to not go with Salah from the start. I can say I went with Salah and I didn't captain him against United, and I basically gave everyone 21 to 27 points of a head start. So it's not fun going without a notable option and they end up kind of performing. But yeah, it's a little bit of an interesting draft. I don't know if many people are going to like this. What you guys can also do is you can rate them as we go along. So in the chat, you can kind of say what your ranking would be out of 10. I think that'll be quite an interesting thing to kind of talk about. I don't know what to say about this draft. I kind of like it. I like what you've done with it, but I just think there's one or two options here that I might not potentially go for. I think I might go for a safer option, maybe Gucci. I think I might go for someone else. So maybe like a Martinelli or someone like that. And I think defensively, I think I would go for Trent over Robertson with that extra 0.5. Meslier, I'm having a video coming out tomorrow that details every single goalkeeper. And I'm going to give you a spoiler here. Meslier is not highly regarded on those rankings. He's pretty much one of the worst 4.5s to get at the current moment. So I probably would go with someone like a Raya, that sort of thing. So it's a little bit of a weird kind of selection in terms of the goalkeeper department. But in terms of your defenders, I like the Trippier punt. I think you're also kind of brave not to go with Cancelo. I would try get some Man City coverage. But it's going to be, it's one of those where I'm going to almost direct you towards the template, which isn't what FPL should be. It should be kind of a variation, but I would say there's a few things that I would sort out. I might give this about a 6 or a 7 out of 10, to be honest. So I think that you've got place to work with from a first draft, but yeah, I don't know. There's some things that I think might change slightly. Look, you don't have to go with Salah, that's 100%, but I think then you have to go for some other coverage in other departments, and I just don't know if that's there at the current moment. But thank you for submitting your draft, Grimm. I do appreciate it. Okay, so let's go with the next one, which is going to be from, let me just check, from Silencio Stampa. So hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Interesting name there. And this one is going to be up to scratch kind of graphically. So let me spread it out a bit. Let me just zoom out actually. That should give us a better representation. Another one with Meslier. So is Meslier a popular pick, guys? I don't know. I thought that he would be not very popular, to be honest. I thought that Meslier would be like no one would kind of have him in their team, but it seems like a lot of people have him at the current moment. So I like this draft a little bit more. This is definitely going to be more template, which I'm fine with, but I do still think there might be somewhere to work with. So the first one, Meslier, I don't like him as a goalkeeper personally. You guys can disagree with me on that, but I just don't trust Leeds defense. So I would change that probably immediately. Look, you don't have to go with a Raya or someone like that, but I would not go with Meslier to start off the season. I like the defense. It's big at the back. There obviously are your risks there if one of your options in your starting 11 doesn't feature. Just checking your bench here. So Andreas Pereira is kind of the template 4.5, Colback and Greenwood. I do apologize. The mic kind of blocks the screen quite a bit. But I like the defense. The midfield department is pretty nice. The forward department's interesting. I haven't really seen many people go without a Haaland or Kane up front. But I mean, if you can afford that defense, that midfield, 100%. Jesus is cool. Wilson is fine to start off the season with. Saka is also pretty template. Foden's probably the only alternative that you've gone here than the template. I can understand why. I think it's overall, it's a pretty template team, but I like it because it has some variation. But what I would say is I would try and devise a plan if, let's just say Haaland or Kane start off the season pretty hot. I would devise a plan to bring them in. What would your plan be? And as long as you have that locked down, then I would be fine with it. But I probably would give it about an 8 just because I don't really like Meslier. But other than that, if you have a plan for Haaland or Kane, I'd say it's cool. I think it's a pretty nice draft. We then have Bunny. Let's go with that draft. Thank you for posting these screenshots. I think it looks better on stream. I think you guys will agree. I think this one, let me just zoom out again. Then we're able to fit everyone in. Maybe I'll have to zoom out again. Okay, cool. Then you should be able to see everything here. This draft starting off with Mendy at the back, a very popular option. I would say template, not because of the kind of Twitter or YouTube community template, but I think generally the ownership is quite a lot on Mendy, which I can't fully understand. But I mean, if you want to go for him 100%, I would just caution you about the double Chelsea defense. I know they are on the cheaper side, but I don't really think their fixtures at the start of the season are as great as many people are actually saying. So I would just be cautious on that. You've also got Walker, which I think is a rotation risk, especially if they do sign Cucurella, but your argument might be that they haven't signed him yet, so Walker should potentially still start. So 100%, that's fine for now, but if that move does come ahead, I'd be a little bit cautious. We then have Mahrez, Salah, Luis Diaz, and Neto. I really do like that midfield. I'm a personal fan of Luis Diaz not having Robertson, but if you want to kind of go with Diaz, that's also cool. You've got Mahrez, who I like as an option. Him or Foden is a bit of a 50-50. Haaland and Jesus up front. So I don't know what your guys' thoughts are in chat about Jesus versus Saka, but it seems like a lot of people are going for Jesus over Saka now, which, I mean, I could understand because he's more of an attacker, but I think it's a bit hard to kind of predict who's going to score more points then. Apparently in preseason, he's looking quite strong, but I think there might be some rotation with Nketiah up front, but I think what's going to be interesting to see if they go with the 2 up front, how that's going to affect Saka's attacking output, because I don't want to see him as more of a reserved kind of backup on the wing for the defense. So overall, I like the team. On the bench, you've got Johnny, Andreas, and Archer. So you've got some bench coverage, which I think is a kind of strong point for this draft, because I think you want at least one guy on the bench who can come off and do the job. I think most people will rely on Andreas for that, but in your case, if Haaland doesn't play, you at least still have a strike up front. So overall, I really like this draft. I think I would say probably an 8, just because I don't know about Walker and Mendy. I mean, you could downgrade him and upgrade Walker to Perisic. That would probably make it a strong 8, close 9 for me, is if you took out Walker for Perisic and you downgraded Mendy to a 4.5. I don't exactly know how much you have in the bank, so if you could do that move already, 100%, but I don't know. Jason saying Neto, and Lucas asking where's the Discord link. The Discord link is in the description below. Just let me know if it doesn't work. But yeah, Neto's an interesting one because didn't have the best last season, but historically hasn't been that terrible. I just think at 5.5, there's not many other options to kind of look at. But in the videos coming up this week, there might potentially be someone that you guys could get over Neto. But I'm not going to spoil that video right now. But thanks for submitting the draft, Bunny. Do appreciate it. Okay, you said can upgrade Walker to Laporte and downgrade Mendy. Okay, so I didn't read the comments. Sorry. But I would agree with that move. Or instead of Laporte, I would go with Perisic. But yeah, so you basically said you've preempted what I would say, which I do appreciate, you see. Okay, so next, Ines, he has submitted his draft. I might have to just zoom in for this one. So yeah, Mendy up in goal as well. Currently your captain, no, your vice captain, but that's probably an auto pick there, Ines. So overall, the Mendy pick is an interesting one, but as you've seen, you don't have any other Chelsea coverage, so I'm fine with that. You also are on the no Salah train, which you might like to see, you might not like to see, depending on what camp you in. I'm pretty much in the Salah in camp, so I don't know if I love that. Move completely, but there's different ways to play FPL. So Mendy in goal, Trent, Perisic, Botman is an interesting one. Cancelo. The defense looks fine. I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, you have the Chelsea coverage where most people have Chilwell or James. You just have to hope that they don't bang from an attacking point of view. In the midfield department, I like the Kulusevski punt. Heed some caution if Richarlison does come in hot in preseason. There might be some rotation there, but he is banned for the first game, so Kulusevski should be fine. And then in terms of Sterling and Foden, is that Sterling at Chelsea or Sterling at Man City? Because if it's Sterling at Man City, but it's probably going to be Sterling at Chelsea, I don't know if he's going to justify that price tag. For me, it's a wait and see. It's too much of a risk in game week 1, in my opinion, to go with Sterling. But, I mean, I would try and fit in Salah instead of Sterling and then downgrade one of the other departments. Kane and Jesus is pretty nice. I'm fine with that. And then on the bench, you've got at least some coverage. Nico Williams should play. I think that he is close to the transfer. If it hasn't been confirmed yet, it's been confirmed in the background, so that should be fine. You have some bench coverage. I just don't know about Sterling. That's probably the only thing that I would caution you about, and that's why for me it's probably going to be around a 7. Yeah. So Ness, you pretty much in the comments there. It's that might be the pick that I have covered in that video. But yeah, let's not spoil the video right now. But thank you for submitting your draft. We then have Jackie. There are quite a few drafts, guys. So what I might have to do is I might have to go through them and just pick ones that are a bit different. And then we can kind of move on from there. Because a lot of these talking points should be pretty general for a lot of you. A lot of them should be pretty much the same. So I'll go through drafts that might be slightly different. In this one, we've got Raya in goal, which I'm fine with. Robertson, Chilwell, Tomiyasu, and Doherty. So Doherty, if you manage to recover from that injury, looks good in preseason. I agree with you. Might even be the best Spurs defender to get if there's no rotation there. But with the signing of Spence on the brink, there might be some rotation in that. I think it's that right wing-back slot. Tomiyasu, I'm fine with. Chilwell. Robertson, you've also gone for Robertson, probably saving the cash. Odegaard is fine. Neto is fine. Salah. But here's where you've gone with the the three premiums. So you've got Haaland, Kane, and Salah, and you also have Jesus. What I might say is don't have Odegaard and Jesus. Maybe split that. Maybe go for another alternative. Don't know how much money you have, but you could also go for a cheap alternative and upgrade Robertson to Trent. That should be a move that potentially you look at. On the bench, you've got the options there. You have one at least. That's fine. I like this draft. I think it has enough variation from the template, and I like the three premiums. With the three premiums, you're obviously going to have to take some risks in other departments, but I still think you've cut off the Liverpool attack, the Chelsea defense. The only thing is probably not Cancelo. But what you could also do is Doherty to Laporte. That could give you some Man City coverage, because that's more sensible in my opinion if Doherty's going to have rotation. But other than that, I like it. I think Odegaard's also, he has that differential appeal, but I would maybe shift those funds on elsewhere. But thank you for submitting the draft. Looks pretty good, to be honest. That draft, I might have to kind of go for some that are better quality, just so that it looks better on stream, because a couple of these I see they've been taken on the phone, which is always fine. If we have time, I might go back to them, but for now, I think I might go with ones that look slightly better on stream. Let me know if they look fine. Raya here. Okay, so we're gonna have to zoom out here. And let me just shift this down. Okay, so the next draft was submitted by Dusan. So thank you for submitting your draft. Defense looks solid, pretty template to be honest, but I like it. Bruno is a question mark for me, but if he does pick up the form of last season, no complaints. You're gone for Diaz over Robertson, which I can understand. Neto, Jesus, Haaland. Honestly, I like this draft. It's pretty template, so that's probably why I like it. But I think that it's probably this is what you want to start with, and then you can adjust for some differentials after that. But what I would say is this is probably a very template, as you're saying, like in the chat. But I think the template's there for a reason. I think it's popular because these are great options. I can't really fault this too much. I see you even have a coverage of Tomiyasu on the bench. So this is probably my favorite one as of now. But as you guys know, I've also been pretty template. So that's what I'll probably say. Okay, I'm going to go for this one. Zofta has sent us a draft. Another draft with no Salah. So you guys seem to be loving the no Salah picks. I mean, 100% if that's what you kind of want to go for. But I personally like Salah. So I can't really advise you guys not to do it. But, I mean, if you really strongly don't want to go for Salah, then you can always do that. So Henderson in goal is an interesting one. I think for Notts Forest, I want to see a little bit more out of them. I don't know how they are defensively 100%. I'm a bit ignorant on that. So that's going to be a bit rough. But I mean, at 4.5, there's so many options you can go for that you can easily just switch them out if it doesn't work. The defense is pretty nice. You haven't gone for Chilwell or James. You've gone for Perisic instead. And then you've gone in the midfield department. You haven't gone for Salah. You've gone for Son. Mahrez I like. Haaland I like. Martinelli I like. I just feel like with Martinelli, most people think they're going to get a full 90 minutes every week, which I don't think will be the case. I think that you're going to see Smith Rowe have a rotation with him. Maybe even Saka on that right side might have rotation with Martinelli. Who kind of knows? I just think a lot of people want an Arsenal asset, but they can't afford Saka or Jesus. So they've gone for Martinelli. So as long as you understand that, that's perfectly fine. But what I would just heed some caution on that front. But other than that, I really like it. I mean, I don't like the no Salah, but I mean, I can understand if you want to go for some variation there. I just think that you have to think about who you want to captain game week 1. If you want to captain Son or Haaland, I would go for them, but I just think that the Salah captaincy is going to be a no-brainer, and therefore, if he bangs and your captain doesn't, it's going to be quite rough to start it off on. So that's what I would say. But otherwise, I like it. It's pretty nice draft with no Salah. But other than that, I mean, who kind of knows? If Salah bangs, you might be in trouble. If he's fine, then it's all good. So I'm seeing a lot of drafts here that are pretty similar. I think the template is very strong this season, which you can understand why. So what I might do is I might just highlight a sort of template draft and then we roll with it. Okay, so we have another non-Salah draft here. So this is actually very popular. I'm just kind of scanning for drafts that I see are slightly more interesting. Okay, this is an interesting one here. I will be doing more of these, guys. It's just that this is I thought it would be a nice little live stream to do, but you guys can also say if you think it was a little bit weird. Okay, so this draft was submitted by Robs. So this is from Robs, and his draft has De Gea in goal, which at 5.0 million is an interesting punt, but I don't know if I would be exactly going for him. I think if you're going to go for another 5.5, there's other alternatives, but I might just go for a 4.5 and upgrade another department, which you could also do. In defense, though, you have my favorite triple up of Liverpool. You've got Trent, Robbo, and Salah, which I can get behind. Yet again, you have also Martinelli, which I would heed caution on. But now, the interesting punt is you seem to be a United fan. You can correct me if I'm wrong there, Robs, but you have Sancho. While I agree that Sancho could have a massive season, I would probably wait and see on United, just see what shape they're setting up on. In preseason, if Sancho's looking good, then 100% that's fine to go for. But I might shift those funds elsewhere and go for a more assured option and then kind of roll with it. I mean, you could downgrade De Gea and upgrade Sancho to someone a little bit more feasible. You might even be able to go cheap on Sancho and then upgrade Martinelli to Saka. That could be an alternative to go for as well. Or you could even maybe try and find enough money to go for Haaland up front, but that might be a bit of a stretch. Overall, I like the draft. I think the obvious omission is Harry Kane or Haaland. As I say, if you have a plan for that, then go for it. But you said in chat here that you've got 2 million in the bank. So I might potentially look at affording Haaland or Kane and shifting some funds elsewhere. But otherwise, it looks fine. As long as you have a plan for Haaland or Kane if they start the season quite well. But otherwise, I don't think Foden is enough of an attacking coverage to cover De Bruyne or Haaland. Either one of those two I'm fine with. If you come to me and you say, Davey, I want to go for De Bruyne over Haaland, that's cool. But I would just heed some caution on that. I'm going to go to some chat questions now because there are a few. Could Perisic be rotated or not? I think he actually could be. A lot of people were disagreeing with me on Twitter, but I think that Sessegnon ended the season super well. I think that he was a big reason they actually got top 4. So I would say that Sessegnon is always going to be in the wings because why would you always want to play a 33-year-old if you have a young 21 or 22-year-old that could potentially be the future for your club? So I think that that's what I would kind of do. You can send your draft training now on Discord in the channel Thoughts. You guys probably understand why I've called it Thoughts because that's pretty much what everyone asks me on Twitter. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, so this is an interesting one. Actually, quite like this draft. Let me just check if you guys can see it. So you pretty much can see it. Just Edison's neck has been chopped off, but I think Edison in goal is an interesting alternative. But what I would say is because you haven't gone for a third Liverpool asset, I would just go with Alisson because I think a Liverpool triple up is going to be massive in the opening couple games. They have great fixtures. It's a great team. They're nailed to start. So instead of Edison, I might go with Alisson. But if you really think that Man City will keep more clean sheets, then 100%. Perisic, Trent, Cancelo, Trippier, James, the back 5, no complaints there. I like the Kulusevski punt. I think I'll probably start with him as well going into game week 1 because Richarlison is out with that suspension. Salah, Neto, Jesus, Haaland. This draft looks good. The only thing I would say, as I said, is Alisson, maybe instead of Edison, but other than that, I can't really complain too much. And on your bench, you've got a cheap bench, but at least you've got Andreas Pereira who can come off. So overall, I like that draft, and I think it's a wait and see on kind of preseason form. Okay, I'm just scanning, guys. That's why I'm being a bit quiet. I'm just trying to find drafts that are a bit different, but if a lot of them are the same, I'm just going to overall do one. So I think this is going to be the last draft that I do, potentially. Just because I want to... Just because I think we've been going for about 30 minutes now. And I don't want this video to be too long. And most of these drafts are looking pretty much the same, to be honest. Which is a good thing and a bad thing, I guess. I don't think it's necessarily bad to have a template team. I've seen a lot of Rashford as well. That's an interesting one. I think what I'm going to go for is a draft that I saw up here that I liked. Okay, so this draft was submitted by Hesau. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. I do apologize if I'm not. But this will be the last draft of the video. And then I'll get to some questions in the chat because we have had a couple of questions here. And as I said, I do apologize if there's no... if I haven't covered every single draft, but we have had a few in chat, to be honest. And I think a lot of the talking points can be related to the drafts that I've mentioned. But this draft is probably as close to my one as possible, but I do think there's some variations here to talk about. So the defense is pretty much exactly the same that I had, so I have no complaints about that. The only thing I will say is that now you don't have that defender on the bench coverage at 4.5, and I think that's the best option on your bench to actually have because the 4.5s this season are so great, and also there's so many options to potentially look at. So you definitely going to have an option on your bench that could come off, but I just don't know if the back five is such a good value proposition that I think you can't ignore it. Going into the midfield department, I think Neto and Salah, that's fine to go with. Martinelli, though, I'm a little bit worried about him in terms of that playing time. And because you already have Jesus up front, I might look for another alternative to Martinelli. I just think there's not that many at that price bracket, but you can go cheaper than him and still get some good performances and some good points. That's just my opinion about him, but I do think in preseason, if we see some good form from the Brazilian, then he's fine to go with. Then up front, Jesus and Haaland, no complaints there. I just don't know about Jesus over Saka. That's my only consideration right now. But the thing about having the two forwards up front is that if Haaland doesn't play, at least you still have a forward, because what I'm saying there is if you have Haaland and two 4.5s, if Haaland doesn't start, you basically don't have a position up front because your 4.5 won't as well because there's no 4.5s currently that actually play. So that's a consideration to maybe go into. But other than that, I really like this draft. You've got Andreas on the bench, I presume. That seems to be the 4.5 of choice. And you say you have 1 million to spare. So I would upgrade Martinelli to another alternative. I think currently he's 6 mil. What I might say is look at Jack Grealish. If Jack Grealish is playing for his respective club, I might look at him. Otherwise, another alternative could be in that 7 to 6.5 range. So I would upgrade on that department. But overall, I really like this draft. It's pretty template, but I think it has enough variation. And I think the Jesus pick is becoming quite popular. And other than that, the only other alternatives we've seen are going with 3 premiums or not going with Salah, which is a little bit surprising. Okay, so you said you put Martinelli to Coutinho, but I would also be a little bit cautious about Aston Villa. I think they might start off the season a little bit slow, but if Coutinho looks good in preseason, then 100%. But I guess you can understand why I'm saying there's a bit of concerns about Martinelli. So Coutinho and Bernardo Silva are the standouts for 7 million. That 7 million, 6.5 isn't too great. Even the 6 more options don't look that great, but there might be some things going around there. But if you guys do have any other questions, you can post them in chat now. I'm going to end the stream pretty shortly, just because I think we've gone over most drafts. You guys can replay this video if you want to, if I have covered any other points. And as I said, I do apologize if I've not got to your drafts, but there were quite a few. So Lucas is asking, is Foden nailed? So the Man City front three is a little bit hard to predict right now with Sterling and Jesus out. I think pretty much what you're thinking is Haaland up front. You might have Mahrez or Foden on the right, or Foden or Grealish on the left. So I think Foden will rotate around that front three potentially. I don't think the false 9 will come out too often. I think Haaland should hold down that spot quite well. But, I mean, I just don't understand how you can't start Foden, the young player of the year last year. He has to play for me. But now people are saying that Jack Grealish is going to start the majority of games as well. Mahrez looks like a great option. I just honestly don't know what's going to happen, but there could be some rotation in that front three. But I don't think that Foden is nailed. But I do think he should start the majority of games just because I don't understand how Pep can bench him too often. That's what I'll say. 2 best 8.0 mids. I think right now, for me, it's going to be it depends on if you've kind of gone for that Liverpool triple up, because I think Luis Diaz is a no-brainer if you don't have a Liverpool triple up. I like Kulusevski. I think he looks like a good shout. But then also, I'll be covering some other 8 mils that are going under the radar, such as a Mount Madison, and Asmina Saka's pretty template. So I think I would go for a Saka and then Kulusevski probably in my front two. Alexander saying, considering early in seasons there are normally more goals and less clean sheets, considering this, don't you think it's better to go for? So I agree with you on that front, but I just think you you don't even need clean sheets from these defenders because they're so attacking. So that might be an alternative to go for. But I understand what you're saying on that front, but I just think with the pricing of the mids and the forwards, the defenders are too hard to ignore. But that could be a strategy that you go for. If you think there's going to be more goals than clean sheets, then you can kind of variate yourself to the template by going with less defenders and more midfielders or premiums. Kulusevski Australia will be rotated. For me, it's not a long-term punt. It's a short-term punt. So because Richarlison's benched or suspended for the first game, Kulusevski will start, and then we might see him start the majority of games after that. Why are people going Chilwell after his season-long injury and the paper-thin backline? So that's my thing is I won't go with a Chelsea double-up, but if they do start with a back five, Chilwell or James is probably a good option to go for because of the attacking threat. But if it is a back four, then that might be a little bit susceptible to kind of the clean sheet loss and no attacking returns. So I agree with you on the Chelsea front, and that's something I'll be analyzing over preseason and as we head into game week 1. But guys, I think that's we've run the stream. I think it's been 30 minutes. Let me just check. It has been 30 minutes. I don't want this video to be too long for people on the replay, so I'm pretty much going to end the stream there. I do thank you guys for joining me on this draft review. If I didn't get to your draft, I do apologize, but hopefully when you rewatch it or another draft had some points that relate to you. And on Friday this week, I will be doing an updated draft where I show you guys what I'm currently dealing with. But otherwise, thanks for joining on this Sunday. Have a safe week. Loads of content coming up, so make sure that you check the channel out Monday to Friday. And maybe we'll have another live stream on Sunday where I review your guys' drafts yet again. But I'm signing off. It's been Davey FPL, and I'm out. Cheers. Bye.